For years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it.
President Donald Trump once made a strikingly direct and repeated statement that caught many ears. "I don't do drawings," he declared firmly. He didn't say it just once. He repeated it multiple times, emphasizing the point with clear conviction. "I'm not a drawing person," he added for good measure. Trump made it abundantly clear that sketching or creating artwork is simply not part of who he is or what he does. He went on to explain that, on rare occasions, people might ask him to draw something very basic, perhaps a simple building for a charity event. In those moments, he might quickly sketch a few straight lines and a small roof, nothing more elaborate. These minimal efforts, he noted, were strictly limited to charitable causes or light-hearted situations where a quick gesture was expected. But beyond such exceptions, he insisted strongly, drawing is not something he engages in. Then came an even more emphatic clarification. "I don't do drawings of women," Trump stated, underscoring the words with unmistakable emphasis.
I'm Jeffrey Edward Epstein, and my residence address is 6100 Red Hook Boulevard in Virgin Islands.
Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Yes.
That I can tell you. He left no room for ambiguity, reinforcing that this was a firm boundary in his personal habits and public image. At first glance, these comments might appear to be nothing more than a quirky personal preference, a minor footnote in a much larger conversation. Yet when a public figure repeats such statements with such insistence, they naturally spark curiosity. People begin to wonder, why say this so explicitly? Why repeat it again and again? What deeper context might lie behind the repetition? The more it is highlighted, the more it stands out, turning a seemingly small detail into something worthy of closer examination. As the discussion unfolded, the focus shifted to Trump's past relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, the notorious financier later convicted of serious sex crimes. Trump addressed the connection head-on, explaining that he had distanced himself from Epstein years earlier, long before the most damaging revelations became public. According to Trump, the break occurred because he disapproved of Epstein's behavior, which he described as inappropriate. He claimed he had warned Epstein directly after learning that the financier had tried to hire or recruit people who worked for him. "I told him not to do that again," Trump recalled saying clearly and firmly. When the same issue reportedly happened a second time, that was the breaking point. Trump stated that he made the decisive move to remove Epstein from his Mar-a-Lago property in Palm Beach, Florida. From that moment onward, he maintained, their association effectively ended. He portrayed the decision as a clear line drawn in response to conduct he would not tolerate. Reports suggest the final ban from the club occurred around 2007 following an incident involving inappropriate behavior toward a young woman at the property, though Trump has framed the rift as beginning earlier due to repeated issues with poaching staff and other concerns. In recounting this timeline, Trump emphasized that the rift was not sudden or mysterious, but rooted in specific incidents and his own standards. He has repeated variations of this account in interviews and public statements over the years, framing it as evidence that he acted responsibly and distanced himself well before Epstein's crimes dominated headlines. This narrative of proactive separation has become a recurring theme whenever the topic resurfaces in political discourse. Whenever such explanations surface, especially from high-profile individuals, observers naturally scrutinize the details. They examine the timeline. When exactly did the break happen? What precisely triggered it? Was the separation as clean and final as described? These questions arise not out of idle speculation, but because public statements form part of a broader historical record.
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Every word is weighed, every claim compared against known facts, timelines, witness recollections, and other contemporaneous accounts that have emerged over the decades. The drawing comments and the Epstein explanation, though seemingly separate topics, often appear in the same conversations or news cycles. This juxtaposition invites layered analysis. Some listeners focus intently on the repeated insistence about not drawing, particularly the strong denial of drawing women, seeing it as a defensive response to specific allegations or reports linking Trump to a controversial 2003 birthday tribute for Epstein that reportedly included a suggestive sketch or outline. Others zero in on the narrative of distancing from Epstein, weighing it against the well-documented earlier social overlap between the two men in New York and Palm Beach circles during the 1980s and 1990s, when they moved in overlapping elite social scenes. In today's hyper-connected media environment, information travels at lightning speed. A single clip or quote can be viewed by millions within minutes. But the real impact often comes afterward. In the replays, the slow-motion breakdowns, the side-by-side comparisons, and the online discussions that follow.
Epstein, and the problem is a lot of Democrats are being caught up in the web, like Larry Summers. Larry Summers was the head of Harvard. He's now been forced to resign from every board he's on, and he was thrown off the Harvard board. Now, he was
Like a
at
dog.
Epstein's Island a lot. I wasn't. I never went there, by the way.
Trump's style in these moments tends toward short, declarative sentences, clear, unadorned, and forceful. I don't do drawings. I don't draw women. Context, of course, remains crucial. People rarely evaluate statements in isolation. They connect them to previous remarks, to broader biographies, and to evolving public records. They look for consistency across time. Does the timeline align? Do the explanations hold up under scrutiny? Are there gaps that invite further questions? These inquiries are a natural part of how societies process information about their leaders and public figures. In an era where virtually every utterance is recorded, archived, and searchable, nothing truly fades. Old clips resurface at opportune moments, new documents or testimonies emerge, and fresh analyses revisit familiar ground, sometimes altering the perceived weight of earlier statements. Ultimately, episodes like this reveal something profound about modern communication and public life. Simple words, when repeated with emphasis, can generate complex reactions and layered interpretations. Repetition doesn't just reinforce a message, it magnifies it, embedding it deeper into collective awareness. People instinctively search for patterns, for coherence, and for meaning beneath the surface, often drawing connections between seemingly unrelated comments. Sometimes the power lies not in a single statement, but in the cumulative effect of statements made again and again over time. How those pieces fit together, or appear to fit, determines whether a moment remains a footnote or evolves into a lasting narrative that influences public perception for years. That dynamic is what keeps audiences watching, debating, questioning, and analyzing long after the words were first spoken, turning isolated remarks into enduring elements of a larger political and cultural conversation. In the end, whether one views Trump's comments on drawings and his Epstein rift as straightforward personal clarifications or as part of a more intricate public relations landscape, they illustrate a timeless truth. In the spotlight, every repeated phrase carries weight. Every explanation becomes part of a larger story that the public continues to read, interpret, and debate for years to come.